From the top rope, this is the Squared Circus.
Square! Ah! That's the cult phenomenon. You know what I think?
Recording in progress.
I realize I like paint.
That was a botch. Hold on.
So, anyway, that's how it's gonna go.
So today, we're going to take listener mail. We're going to answer your questions, the important questions inquiring minds want to know. And we have the answers.
We're actually shocked that we have questions anyway, because
thousands of emails have come in over the past few weeks.
Thousands of emails. But
Richie had to take a day off of work to read all of them.
It was just unbelievable.
We had to hire translators for some of them.
Yeah. The one question I know that is for both of us, and then I have a question just for you, and I think you have a question just for me that people wrote, is the first person that wrote for both of us was, he says, fellas, I just started following your YouTube channel, really enjoying the content.
Okay, we already know he's lying.
Yeah. I was a contributor to Conan's podcast for a while. He said I was a mind for the business.
Conan O'Brien?
Yeah. And had good ideas that he turned on me. What do you guys think of his podcast, and what are your favorite podcasts hosted by wrestlers? And this is by Juan Unda. I hope I said that right. So what is your... I don't know much. I'm going to let you know right now. I don't know much about Conan's podcast, but I'll say the second question of who's your favorite podcast. You can talk about the Conan's podcast.
I haven't listened to... A lot of the stuff I listen to on YouTube. I kind of just like put on something and just let the algorithm play whatever comes next. There's not a lot of stuff that I listen to like full episodes of podcasts on. So I'll get lots of clips, so I'll get clips of like whatever, like usually I'll listen to like Brian Alvarez and dudes like that, like the normal shit everybody listens to. So I only know the Conan's podcast from just like little snippets here and there, or I'll click on it if it's like something that particularly is of particular interest to me. It's cool. It's okay. I mean, he's got Disco on. Disco is kind of a curmudgeon and just sort of hates on a lot of shit, I think.
Does he?
Yeah. But they has like a balance because they have like a few different people on. I don't know everybody's names, and like everybody has like sort of different roles, so it works. Like Disco is kind of like the naysayer. He's like down on a lot of stuff. Conan's kind of in the middle, and they have another dude who's sometimes just like a little more even keeled. But I mean, Conan he's been so involved his whole life and still is. It's like, it's interesting to hear from somebody because he does, I think AAA. I think it's AAA. He still is involved with in Mexico. So it's not like some retired guy who hasn't really been involved in the business in a long time. And he has a lot of insider shit because he still talks to people. And I don't always agree with him, but I always like to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I couldn't really answer that because I honestly never listened to one, to be honest with you. So like I knew that you knew more about him. What's your favorite podcast? Like, do you have any like ones that you actually enjoy of like actual wrestlers that went to podcasts?
You know what? The one I'm going to say is probably going to surprise a lot of people, but Jim Cornette. I listen to his a lot. He's good at putting snippets up too. So I don't have to listen to a whole episode, so I can just listen to the stuff I want to listen to, because I know he's really, really negative. He's down on a lot of shit that I really like. I disagree with him more than 50% of the time, probably. Mm-hmm. But he's entertaining to listen to, I mean, he is one of the great promos in wrestling of all time, whatever you think of him now. And he applies that talent to his podcast. He's able to be an entertaining podcast host. For a long time, his co-host Brian Last was a little bit of a balance, but it seems like Brian has moved toward Brian. Like, we're on a first name basis. Me and Brian, we're pals. He is from Long Island. Brian Last.
There you go.
And I think he's Jewish as well. So we have that bond. But he was more of a balance for a while, but I feel like he's drifted more towards Cornette's way of thinking.
Okay.
But that's one that I listen to probably the most. And like when he's not talking about wrestling, I like him a lot better. Like his little stories just about his everyday life and stuff. Because he's the kind of guy who seems like a nice, decent dude. Like if you were his neighbor, you would probably get along with him really well. But like when it comes to wrestling, he's like Jekyll and Hyde. When it comes to wrestling, he's just a different person. He has these opinions and he's not going to budge on them. He's not going to listen to reason, you know. He's changed his mind here and there. So he's not totally stubborn. You listen to enough, he's like, okay, he came around on this and that. But sometimes he uncomes around on things. But I'm not gonna be an apologist for Jim Cornette. I think he's definitely way too mean-spirited about a lot of stuff. Like some of the nicknames he has for people are funny, but some of them are just cruel and unnecessary.
I don't know much about him as well. I don't follow him, so like I can't really say one way or the other.
Yeah. So I mean that's the one I like.
Mine too was that I noticed was that I listened to a little bit was Ryback, but like I feel like he became like a bitter ex-employee, so I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Like I feel like everything he said was just bitter.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
What is surprising is that somebody listens to Ryback's podcast.
Yeah, so it didn't last long. I think when I first started listening, like I first started listening to podcasts with Joe Budden, and that has nothing to do with wrestling. So therefore, I just started learning about podcasts and things like that. But when I saw like Ryback, I'm like, okay, let me just see what he has to say, and it just sounded like bitter. One person I enjoy still, like, and I don't listen to daily, but it's still Jericho because he just has a way of making people feel comfortable, and I feel like he's almost like the Joe Budden or Joe Rogan, regardless if people like him or hate them, of podcasts of wrestling, because he makes the people feel comfortable. They say shit that you wouldn't expect them to say. They have like more of a, you almost feel like more in tune and you know more about the person themselves because how comfortable they make them. And I always enjoy that. So I don't listen to it daily because obviously if he has some people that I just don't really care too much about, I'm not going to listen to. But if there's someone I like, I'm going to put it on because I just know he has the questions and things like that and how he talks to people. I just think he does well, and it shows in his promos, even like now in wrestling, and it shows in his podcast. So those are the two names that like just came right to my mind with this question.
I don't listen to a ton of interview ones. I've listened to Jericho a couple of times. I listen to Renee Paquette sometimes.
She's really good too at interviewing too, because she makes you feel at home. Yeah, and that's pretty much what it is. And the interviews to me is like you could go back anytime, so it's not like you have to listen to right away. So sometimes if I don't know what to listen to, or if I'm bored or whatever, I'll look through these two. Like, Renee's a really good point too, because I'll actually look at her too and like, okay, oh, she has someone I actually like, so let me see more into their lives because they feel more comfortable. They feel like they break character per se. You know what I'm saying? They break character, and you get to hear a lot. I know this is a joke one, but Hey EW is one of my favorites.
I love Hey EW, and the last few have been good.
Yeah, it's been really good. Even fucking Wardlow wasn't even that bad.
No, I liked it.
So even though I know it's a joke, it's still fun.
He's fun, and I don't know. I like him. He's like a nerd, like a campy nerd. And I can kind of relate to him there, you know? And one of the things I love about that, like he had like Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh on recently. And like, that was an act that I'm kind of like, these guys are fine. But they were just so charming and fun on the podcast, on the interview. It's not podcast, it's just a video, whatever. I don't know, YouTube thing, YouTube show. But one of the things I like about interview podcasts, YouTube shows, whatever in general, like, out of character interviews, is that like some people who you might not really be crazy about, like when you get to see the normal non-wrestling side of them, it makes them more likable. 100%. So like those three guys, I'm like, those guys were just so fun and charming on that podcast. That was great. Like I remember seeing an interview with Lance Archer like a year ago. I'm like, This is like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
Like I was never down on him, but like now I like Lance Archer a lot more.
100%. And that's the reason why, like, I don't watch all the time, but the Up, Up, Down show, I know it's all about like fucking games and shit like that. But you actually got to see the real person of these people who play on TV. So it's like when you get in tune of who they are, like Wardlow himself, I don't like him as a wrestler, but as a human being, he actually seems like a really great guy. Like he really does.
Yeah,
he really does. So it actually makes you tone down of like if you don't like him and it's not whatever in wrestling, but like it's like, okay, you know what though, he seems like a really good guy. So and
I think AEW is for that type of viewer, the person who roots for the person more than the character. If somebody's like a good dude, they're gonna probably root for them.
Did you hear that they're actually having a? This is a side note, but did you hear that they have another show where it's gonna be just backstories of the wrestlers?
No, what?
Yeah, they're actually having another show coming up where it's gonna be the history and backstories of some of the wrestlers that's out there. It's almost like documentaries. So that could go either way.
Every week.
It should be something like that. Yeah, it should be like yeah. So I read about that the other day, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So it might actually help out ratings, and get people to like people and stuff like that.
No, I like the idea of it. I'm curious to see how it comes out. That could be cool.
Yeah. So
there's just not enough of that in AEW right now.
No, and I think that will actually be really good for the company and to get people to know, because sometimes they just do shit to not even like tell exactly like who they are. But I hope that we kind of answered that question for the most part.
I think so.
And you said you had a question.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So this comes in from Frankie from Illinois. And this comes in through our Twitter, which is at and this is Frankie is at WWE Rules You Suck 69.
Okay.
And he says, this is for you, Richie.
Okay.
And he says, you suck, you stupid Mark, and Eddie Kingston sucks, and you suck for liking him. What do you think of that? That's his question.
Well, I don't really know if that's a question.
He said, "What do you think of that?" At the end.
That is true. I guess that's similar to a question. I don't think of it at all. I do think that most people probably misunderstand Eddie Kingston, and I feel like if he was on more and they actually booked him a little bit better where he gets more wins, kind of like Bray Wyatt, I feel like that he would actually get more understanding with people and why he's as good as he is.
At least put him on the mic more.
Yeah, put him on the mic.
Something.
Anything.
Put him in somebody's corner. Put him on commentary. I've loved him on commentary. I don't know if he's done it on TV, but he's done it on Dark, and it's great. Just do something with Eddie Kingston. This is going to be a theme of all of our shows. It's just something. More Eddie.
Because like we don't need him on Dark. We really don't. I'm going to go out of the limb here, and I know people are going to disagree, but he's probably in the top 7 or 8 of most popular people when they come out and the crowd fucking goes nuts.
Yep.
That's probably not too far fetched.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm probably being generous. He could probably be in the top 5 of people who fucking shouts and whatever. So the fact that they misuse him all the time is unbelievable. Yeah. But so before that, before we go, I do have another question that someone actually asked for you.
Oh, a question for me. Yeah. The answer is no.
No. So George White sent an email.
George White.
Yes, he asked a question directly towards you, and let me see if I can find this here.
GW.
Okay. With wrestling being in the news as of late, for good and for the bad, it's still a good look for the industry. There is more articles and platforms to discuss about the things we love and hate about this profession. Either news brings more eyes. Because my question is to Bruno, since you always seem to have great logic and sense with what is going on in the wrestling community, as well as being well-spoken.
Where is this going?
So So anyway, my question to Bruno
I
is,
can't even.
what? Wait, listen.
All right,
What?
no, I'm.
Are you
yeah.
laughing at the question? All right.
Oh,
But anyway,
I just know where this is going somewhere
no,
ridiculous.
don't sit there and make fun of the fans. But anyway, my question to Bruno is, what are the intakes of Brian Cage and what he does for the Jewish community?
Well, despite my dislike of Brian Cage as a wrestler, he's always been such a strong supporter of the Jewish community. He sends money to Israel. If if you want him to perform at your bar mitzvah, he'll do it for a good price.
Does he really do that?
No, I don't know. Sending money to Israel is not necessarily a good thing anyway.
Don't mock the
I'm
question.
not a fan of
I'm
Israel.
just sitting here asking. I'm
trying to play along. You built up this question.
I'm just asking what is said in front of me.
No, I mean, listen. The Jews love Brian Cage. He's got. Brian Cage. It's like what a lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Cage used to be a rabbi. His name was Herschel Cagestein.
Oh.
And it's true. And he was a rabbi at the Temple Bethel in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And he's a real student, a real scholar of the Torah. And he was always somebody you could go to with problems and life lessons and where to buy steroids in Brooklyn.
Is that why the crowd loves him?
I think so, because he just exudes that wisdom, the wisdom of thousands of years of knowledge passed down from generation to generation among our people. And people respond to that and they feel the love.
Okay.
The love that he exudes, that he embraces everybody, the way a good young Jewish young man does. He embraces humanity as a whole. And he believes in social justice and doing the right thing. So that's my take on Brian Cage from a Jewish perspective.
Good. Well, I hope that we answered the questions that people wanted to know.
Motherfucker.
And that's pretty much all we have until the next time.
What was George White? Was that the name of the person that wrote that?
It was George White, yes.
You couldn't think of a Jewish name for this guy?
Well, no. He just had a question and I just figured I answered. But until next time, we'll see you.
Shalom.
Shalom.